Hello. Hi. I'm going to be speaking about phonics in this video. If you're like me and a new teacher, um, or a young teacher, better yet, you probably grew up on the National Literacy Strategy or something to that effect. Simple view of reading, around that, and you probably would have been taught. Um, a method similar to this. So you'd look at a word, you'd read it, cover it, write it, then check it. So that would have been taught for reading and writing. You would have been taught syllables, so like this, so elephant, and you would have been taught to remember those syllables. You also um, probably would have been taught to remember chunks of words. So if I gave you the word, for example, moon, I would have been taught moo, then the na. So the na, moon. That's what I remember about being taught to read and write. Obviously, everyone's experience is a little bit different, but that's just my experience of what I remember. Now, obviously, education moves faster than a speeding bullet, and it's it's gaining speed of every second. Things have moved on from when I was at school, and I think they still, unless you qualify within the next 4 years, this should still be relatively new to you. So we now teach something called phonics, and there are two kinds of phonics, and the one that we teach is called systematic synthetic phonics. I hope I got that the right way around, or SSP, and this is a method of decoding and blending the English language. It's very specific for English. Well, it's only for English actually, and the reason why we use the term decoding is you should be able to, through this method, be able to read any words in the English language, even words that aren't real, and you should be able to blend them back together, which means being able to say them fluently. And the whole overarching concept and belief and principle is, through using these skills, our children will become confident and fluent readers and read for enjoyment. So, as an example, I can give you a word here. Well, the first thing that you have actually in phonics is, well, actually, a good point to remind you or let you know is the English language. It's ridiculous. Obviously, it's got traditionally Old English, then it's got Latin, it's got French, German, Spanish, Arabic, Greek. It's probably got every other language but English in it. It has English in it, but that's just a joke. But yeah, it's very it's been warped by a lot of other languages, and even though we only have 26 letters in the alphabet, so A to Z, we have approximately 44 sounds. So as a result of that, we may have some words or some, well, not words. Sorry, we have some letters which will have one sound. But then what we'll have is we'll have a combination of two letters that make up one sound. Another example of two letters that make up one sound is cha or sh. So yeah, and of course, English being English, it's always going to be complicated. We also have three letters that make up one sound. So I, yeah. So that's part of phonics basically. Well, part of it is being able to recognise all those individual components that make up sound. So what you see here, this is not a letter. It is a letter, but it's also a grapheme. A grapheme, think of it as a graph, is what you see. So my grapheme is P. You might look back to find it in the camera. P. But the phoneme, as in phone, what you hear is P. And you've got to be very careful about this as well, because again, English moves on. Take the letter M, for example. Oops. I would have been taught this as M. So mum would have the M sound. M. No, it's not that anymore. It's Okay, it is a never-ending sound, which leads me on to my next point. It is a stretchy sound, so it goes on and on and on forever, so Okay, another one that's really good that goes on forever and ever, so a nice long stretchy sound is nah, not nah, so it goes on forever and ever and ever. And this is in contrast to our shorter sounds. These are, if I've got one, I think this might be one. No, don't seem to have one. But I'll hold it this way. So b, for example, b, 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 b. It bounces. It doesn't go on forever. So yeah. Now, obviously, if I have a string of words, a string of graphemes, if I have them, and I can make a word out of it, this is where our decoding and blending comes into place. So whereas before, when I was a child, I would have been taught the syllables or been taught to recognize a part of a word and then attach on the ending of it. It's not that anymore. We've got to teach our children to recognize each individual component. Okay? So to decode, break apart the word moon, my children have to recognize this sound, these two sounds here, and this final sound here. So I'm going to give you some magic sound buttons. So ooh, So ooh, and then we're going to blend it back together. Moon. Okay, this sounds quite simple actually, but it's not. This sound here, this phoneme, has two sounds. It's got a long sound and a short sound. So we've got the oo as in moon, but then say for example I had the word took. So t-ook. I've got the short sound. And children need to be able to recognize what grapheme and phoneme match. So grapheme to phoneme correspondence. And it's built up over time. Throughout phonics, we have 6 phases. We have 2 phases that we teach from key stage 1. No, sorry, let me say that again. We've got 4 phases that we teach quite explicitly in key stage 1. That's phase 2 to phase 5. Phase 6 and phase 1. Phase 6 is about the application and of all of the graphemes and phonemes, and phase 1 is about initial recognition and is mainly dealt with by early years. The other thing about systematic synthetic phonics is, whereas before we would have taught children to read, read with comprehension. So if I didn't know a word and I was struggling to sound it out, I would read the word before to see if it made sense. So for example, the cat sat on the mat. If I didn't know what the word mat, I would just use from my knowledge, the cat sat, what is he sitting on? Is he sitting on the volcano? No. You'd use that knowledge and you'd have comprehension. You'd look at pictures as well. Phonics doesn't allow us to do that. I mean, it's something that we can teach, but it's not really one of the skills that we should be teaching. It should be to recognize, or it shouldn't be the first skill that we're teaching. With SSP, the first skills that we should be teaching is phoneme and grapheme recognition and correspondence. Those are the skills that they need to have. So when we do take away the pictures, our children can still read. When we do take away comprehension, they can still decode and blend nonsense words. The whole point of this is that children should be able to hear and recognize a range of sounds to be able to spell fluently, to read fluently, and in their later life, when they get to my age and hopefully become teachers, become better and more fluent readers and spellers. So it's not easy, especially if you've been taught how to read a different way. It's a major contradiction. You've got to remember, obviously, to not say ma or na and schwa your letters. You've obviously got to give children the correct pronunciation, because, for example, if we have the schwa sound. So if you go ma, oon, ma, can't even do it, moan, it's not actually correct. So obviously the sound fits a lot better than the ma. So yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So for anyone that didn't know about phonics, and a lot of us didn't on my course, I hope this video helps. Oh, one more thing actually. If you want to know more about these phonics and how to teach it, again, I'm not an English teacher. I am a maths teacher at heart. But I think it's very, very good to know about it, whether you're in the primary or secondary sector. Download our robotics and phonics scheme, and in the tutorial SmartNote app, in the tutorial SmartNote presentation, there's several links to various phonics websites, and there's also a more in-depth explanation of phonics. All right, bye.